quotidien. C'est sur ta oui.
Well, I'd say the overlap between all these things that I do, like songwriting and performing and screenwriting and directing, is that they're all storytelling. So it's all kind of the same thing in a way, but it's just about exercising like different muscles to tell these stories in different ways and understanding when I have an idea, is this a movie, is this a song, is this a TV show? I mean, when it's a song, it usually comes in the form of a melody or a bass line or something, so it's pretty easy to figure that one out. But yeah, I think it's all storytelling to me, and I think that might be why my lyrics tend to be quite narrative, and sometimes they're fiction and sometimes they're true. And then, I mean, the way that they diverge, I think the biggest way that these sort of art forms diverge for me is in the way that the process of like making them or getting them made and for them to reach an audience. Because, and really like, you know, performing music has always been like a form of therapy for me from being in the film business, because you know, filmmaking, it's such a beast. You know, it takes so much money and so many other people, and so much time, and it just goes on and on and on before it ever sees an audience or an audience sees it. And songwriting, for me, it's just really the opposite. It's like I write a song, I get up, I play the song, I get an immediate response from an audience, and with no filter. And that is just like a pure form of creative expression to me that I really rely on. You know, it's not like you have to like somehow pitch the idea for a song the way that you would for a movie, like, okay, it's gonna start in A, and then it goes to a D. It doesn't have a bridge, but you know, stay with me, because when it gets to the chorus and the drums kick in, that's when you're really gonna feel, you know, it's like that Big Star record from, that's what you have to do to sort of convince people to get on board with a film or especially television project. There's a lot of pitching and raising money and you know, creating an outline for the thing, a lookbook for the thing. The screenplay is really like a blueprint for the thing, but none of them is the thing. And for music, it's always the thing. The thing is the thing is the thing, and it's just a direct way of communicating, you know, with other people, and that's why I love it. Booked a Room is based on a true story from the depths of the pandemic, when I was completely overwhelmed taking care of my daughter, who was little at the time, and also my parents, who were aging and not doing well, who live in Canada. And I was going back and forth from New York, where I live, to Canada, quarantining on either side. And it was a nightmare. And I was, you know, I really badly just needed to let my emotions out and cry, but I was suppressing everything to protect everybody around me, because I needed to be just that strong person who's taking care of everybody else. So I literally did book a room just to have a place to cry. But then when I got there, I wasn't able to cry. Like I had stuffed it down for too long, I guess. And you know, I just couldn't even, not even one tear would come out. And so I wrote the song instead. And that was really the beginning of Booked a Room. When I was recording the song, I just started to realize that I just needed to create the tidal wave of tears that I felt like I wanted to cry and couldn't. So I started picturing what it would look like if I could produce, all of those tears. And I immediately started thinking in terms of stop motion animation, because I've worked in stop motion once before on a film called Tiny Riot Project, and I just fell in love with the process of stop motion, even though it is just ridiculously time consuming. There's something just really beautiful about spending all day just shooting something frame by frame. And then at the end of the day, you just have you manage to have somebody go like this and like this or something like that. You have to kind of have like a Zen patience to do it, which is opposite to my manic personality, and I think it's good for me to work that way. And I also just love the immersive textural feeling of stop motion, of true authentic stop motion animation. But I did have to completely reimagine how I would shoot it, because the way that I shot this other stop motion film, it was as if it was a regular film. I built a miniature set and I shot with, lit through the set and used cameras that were going like this, the way that I would if it were real, life size. But this time I didn't have the space or the any financing to do something like that, because it's just my own little project. And the animator that I worked with, Brian Haimes, on that thing a million years ago, suggested that we could shoot it on a down shooter in his garage, which is the thing that a multi-plane down shooter is like planes of glass, like a table, but shelves of glass basically, and then a camera is just shooting stationary from on top of it. So I tried to reconceive the idea to be able to shoot it that way, which meant that I wouldn't be able to do any shots where the camera is pushing in. All of the movement had to be lateral. It's the same technology that Disney created to shoot Bambi 100 years ago or more. So it was really limiting in a way. And it took forever for me to figure out how to get this idea that I wanted, which was this tidal wave of tears that floods this motel room and spills over into the pool and everything, and create the drama that I wanted without being able to move the camera. So, and Brian said that generally when you use a down shooter, like a multiplane like that, you use flat art. And I didn't want it to all be illustrated. I just still love that texture of stop motion and 3D images and little miniature objects. And I had been collecting these vintage postcards of motels from the 60s and 70s, just as reference for what I intended to originally to build as a motel set miniature set to build it, to shoot in. And it was only once I realized that maybe I could just use those postcards as the backgrounds and on paper, and combine it with the 3D doll and the little miniature objects that I sourced from eBay and Etsy and stuff, and combine that 2D and 3D approach. That's when I realized I really could make the video, and that it was going to be what I wanted it to be, and that it would still be worth doing it. And that was a long process to just get to that point. And I'm thrilled with how it turned out. I mean, I think that the combination of those 2D printed postcards and these little miniature Kleenex boxes and stuff like that, it's all a little bit off scale, which makes it feel weird and maybe like a little bit of a memory or a dream. I always like the wrongness of when you're working in stop motion that's authentic. Things get a little bit wonky sometimes, or I love the mistakes. And that's something that, doing something on a computer erases, which I do not love. But this, I feel like it has a really unique look to it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
still care? And who said you could schedule nervous breakdown? I booked a room at the airport just to cry in. I booked a room at the airport just to cry in. No flood yet, but Lord knows I am trying. Gotta go. I said too much. I'm always late. I'm always in a rush. I gotta make it to my scheduled nervous breakdown.